I think it kind of starts with there's high expectations, right? You don't succeed if you don't have high expectations, but it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get there. Sometimes we win with less talent, but we're able to cultivate our advantages that we have, whether those be large numbers, whether those be resources, whether those be the adults that we're able to attract to lead programs, et cetera. But to me, it's kind of this formula of if you're doing the right things, if you're giving a great experience for kids, if you're sticking to consistency, and I say consistency to me for all of our programs is your attitude as a coach is the same and consistent from day to day. Kids know exactly what they're walking into when they walk into the gym or the practice field or wherever.
Welcome back to Building a Champion, the podcast where we highlight the programs and people shaping a culture of excellence in athletics. I'm joined by Brandon Van Horn, and today we are heading to Carmel, Indiana, home of what many consider the most dominant high school athletic program in the country. According to the Max Preps Cup Dynasty rankings, Carmel sits atop the national standings since 2018, racking up over 11,000 points, capturing 31 state championships, and finishing in the top 10 nationally 4 times. Perhaps most impressively, they've done it across nearly every sport. Joining us today is Carmel leader Jim Inskeep. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and that's quite an introduction. It's a great place to be for sure.
Much deserved, yeah. Because Carmel currently sits at the top of the Max Preps Dynasty rankings. When you hear that your program is considered the most dominant in the nation over the past 6 years, what does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it's I've been here. This is my 25th year as athletic director, so it's a lot of pride in what our community and our school district's been able to build together. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of for our high school is that it's not just one or two programs. It's so diversified across all of our different athletic programs. And we have 29 varsity athletic programs, some of which are somewhat new to our athletic department, such as esports. And we added lacrosse 10 years ago and some others, but in unified sports. But that's the thing for us is that expectation of excellence is really across the board. It doesn't just, it's not just about Friday night football. It's about everything that goes on here on a daily basis. And I think that really kind of permeates throughout our building and all sorts of areas from performing arts to our tech hounds, our radio and television program, and everything else that goes on. It's a very special place where everything is kind of driving and pushing each other in the classroom and outside the school day as well.
I love that. And it's not just one great team or one strong class. We're talking sustained excellence across multiple sports, as you said. How do you go about building something that consistent?
I think it is really kind of started with, you look back historically in our school, we started having a lot of success in the 70s, mid 70s into late 70s and throughout the 80s. So this has not been kind of an overnight thing for us. I think it's been building for some time in a community that's really, even as we've gotten larger from going from 30,000 people in the city of Carmel back in the 80s now to well over 100,000. It's a place that's really still seems like a small city, a small town at different times. So a lot of people come back here to raise families. So you get a lot of alumni that kids of alumni that are here in the building. We get alumni that are coaching in our different athletic programs. But to me, it's kind of the success that pushes success and across the board and everything. And so for us, I think that ability to have kind of a vision, not only from offering resources to our programs, and when you get a lot of leadership that's in the same seats in the bus, so to speak, over a number of years, you can really start game planning to build some things. So our associate superintendent for facilities and business affairs has been in his position almost 30 years. And so he does a lot of the planning with facilities. So when you can get that type of consistency from our offices here in the high school and also from the district office, you're able to get a little bit of a vision for what resources are needed for kids. And so as you're doing those things, I think obviously the other part of that is you get some consistency and coaches that are around for a long time too. So our swimming and diving program had been at the top of the mountain for a long, long time. We can talk a little bit about that more later, but a head coach that's been here 18 years now. So, those are situations where we've still got those pockets just like everybody else, where it seems like a revolving door in some programs, but in other programs, it's been extremely consistent over the years. So I think that helps quite a bit when you're trying to build something special.
Are they doing something there in Carmel at the younger ages to really breed these incredible athletes, or what's going on there? What's in the water?
Yeah, it's must be pretty good water, I guess. So, but it's a very supportive community. So, we're very fortunate, and socioeconomic background is very strong here. It's a population that is growing in diversity year by year throughout our community in a lot of different ways, not just in one or two areas, but in lots of different diverse backgrounds here at our schools. So with that, we're seeing a lot of differences within our programs as well. So for us, it's really been about kind of building from the ground level up. So not all of our programs have the same model, but we've got different variations of it across the board. So we have a youth sports organization called the Carmel Dads Club, which has been around for almost 75 years now at this point. And it was really kind of started by a group of dads here in the community that wanted to do more to support the high school programs. And so in that sense that they were wanting to have youth sports opportunities. And it's a little different than a lot of other places because you may have a youth basketball program or a Bantam football program or, the old Babe Ruth baseball program or whatever they might be. But for us, it's youth sports all under one umbrella, if you will. So you're getting consistency in your scheduling, your programming, your philosophies, but also being able to empower the varsity head coaches in those programs to be able to work down at those other levels, to be able to hire the right commissioners and general managers and coaches and really exude those philosophies from the top down. So I kind of give you this as an example. So for us, basketball, for example, extends down to our middle schools. We have 3 middle schools, and then down to a PUPS basketball program, which is a travel basketball and in-house rec league program all the way down to 2nd and 3rd grade. So you kind of see this building and these opportunities all the way up in the community. And it's the same way with so many of the other sports, whether it be football. We also have another group called the Carmel Swim Club. So what's different about the Carmel Swim Club in our community and in the state of Indiana really is talking to some other people at the Olympic trials here a year or so ago. It's very unique to have the same head coach and coaching staff here in Indiana as it is other states throughout the country, because our head coach, our coaching staff are working with those kids 12 months out of the year. They're using the same facilities. So the kids are getting the same training philosophies. They're getting the same terminology. And so you're seeing these consistencies which build from the ground floor up, 1st and 2nd grade, when those kids are learning to swim all the way through their senior year of high school. They're just getting that consistency and not having to change from one coach to another. So obviously the results speak for themselves, but that's something I think that's kind of unique to the state of Indiana in terms of how that model has been replicated other places.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have got something figured out. That's for sure. Now, oh yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
No. So yeah, in Indiana, with sports like cross country, swimming, track, they only have one champion. No divisions. That must make winning more difficult.
Well, it's our size is a big advantage for us. I would never say it's not, but with that size, there are a lot of other big schools in Indiana as well. So you have to do something with that as well. So I've always kind of gone back to, you've got to have great experiences for kids, because if you don't have those right leaders, adult leaders in charge of it, kids aren't going to want to give their all. They're not going to be all bought in on it. They might gravitate to other things as well. So, having some huge numbers in different sports obviously creates its own competition within a program. But you're right. Individual sports are not classed in the state of Indiana. So track and field, cross country, wrestling, swimming and diving, just a few of the sports that are individual sports, which are not classified. So all team sports in Indiana are classified, from 6 classes in football down to 4 classes in football and 3 classes in soccer, just as some examples. I'm sorry, 4 classes in basketball and 3 classes in soccer, just as an example of some of what those are broken down into. Well, it takes a village for sure, Jordan. It's for us, it is about really kind of staying on the same page between the club and in the high school as well. So early in my career, we had to kind of have some sit downs and really discussions. I do sit on the swim club board as well, so we're constantly trying to make sure that we are synergized between each other as well, not only with the personnel part of it, but we share a facility. So we just finished a really an unbelievable natatorium expansion here. So we have a natatorium complex on our campus. So a 1,500 seat, 50-meter pool that was just put in, separate diving well. It's got a therapy pool, spa in there as well. So that helps with our kids' rehabilitation and other sports as well. And at the same time, we were able to keep our existing pool that we had. So there are 2 50-meter pools under one roof, the same complex. There's only 3 of those locations in the entire country. And so we're the only high school that has that. So, having the space to do it helps quite a bit too. So for us, it's about just building consistency from the ground floor up. For the Carmel Swim Club, they introduced what they call the Carmel Swim Academy several years ago, which is a 0 entry warm water depth pool that's separate somewhere else in the city of Carmel. And for that, it really kind of models what you might see in a lot of the various, what I call strip mall places to learn how to swim, whether it be Goldfish Academy or the other things that you see across the country. When you're a little kid, you don't want to get in cold water. That'll scare you right away from becoming a swimmer. So that concept's really, really an important and smart thing to do. You want to get them in places where they can touch to begin with, and then you want to have them in warm water. Well, hey, I don't mind getting my face wet. This isn't bad. So maybe after these 4 or 5 levels of classes, well, now I can introduce you going from the Carmel Swim Academy right into the entry level with the swim club. So, I'm a huge proponent. I think it's a great activity that you can do for life, obviously swimming, and there's a lot of benefits from just a survival standpoint as well. I think everyone should learn how to swim, but when you start at that young level and you start working your way up, and you've got a schedule where we just come to the high school to swim, all practices now finish because of this new construction. All of our practices finish by 8 p.m. So we've been really big proponents here in our school district of having opportunities for kids to get the proper amount of rest, because when you're coasting in on fumes, when you're leaving the school after 9 o'clock, 9:30, et cetera, with practices, it's really hard to wake up the next morning, then succeed academically and do all those things. Well, the same way, obviously, with swimmers, when you start with swimmers, everyone knows, well, they're the first ones in the pool. They're the first ones like in the school in the morning. They feel like they're the last ones to leave at night. So for us, you're trying to figure out ways to keep them healthy, to keep them refreshed, to keep them on top of their academics. So when you're able to build some consistent schedules with family calendars, people like staying in those activities, Jordan. They really do. For us here, a lot of young families. So, what drives the minivan after school as it goes to the different activities for all your kids and your family, you tend to gravitate towards sports and activities that work really well with the family schedule. And clearly, I think swimming is one of those, because you get these consistent practice times, the consistent location. And then, as they're younger, you're only going to swim meets once every 6 or 7 weeks. And usually they're local meets. And now with our facility, they're right in your backyard. We're able to host some of these really big events. So, we don't complain we don't, apologize for the success. And, but we've been given a lot of unbelievable resources, and I credit our community with that because they're just very, very supportive of our schools in general, opportunities for kids. And I think that's why a lot of people move here.
Mm-hmm. You sent me a little note, and it said in it, Swim City, USA. Has that been kind of the nickname you all have been given?
Yeah, our swim family is going to love this podcast. It's going to be all about swimming. It's great. But no, we love it around here. And obviously the picture behind me is of our girls swimming and diving team. But yeah, Swim City USA was a name that our community took on a couple of years ago. The Olympic trials were held at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is literally a 30-minute drive from here to downtown Indianapolis. And we had a lot of our swimmers participating in the Olympic trials. And in the 2024 Olympics in Paris, we had 3 swimming Olympians. We had a member of the coaching staff for Team USA on the swimming coaching staff, Chris Plum. So we're super excited about swimming here, obviously. And for our community to kind of have this name that appears on every, you drive into cities and you see, well, it's the home of whatever. But when you drive into our city, it says City of Carmel. Welcome to Swim City, USA. So we kind of have embraced that quite a bit. And not a lot of people can say that, but we like to live up to that billing as well. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Now, the formula that Max Preps Cup uses factors in enrollment size, sport popularity, and state size. Carmel isn't just winning, you're winning in some of the very highly competitive fields. What would you say is the foundation that you guys have built up that's allowing that to happen?
Well, I think it kind of starts with there's high expectations, right? So you don't succeed if you don't have high expectations, but it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get there. Sometimes we win with less talent, but we're able to cultivate our advantages that we have, whether those be large numbers, whether those be resources, whether those be the adults that we're able to attract to lead programs, et cetera. But to me, it's kind of this formula of, if you're doing the right things, if you're giving a great experience for kids, if you're sticking to consistency, and I say consistency to me for all of our programs is if your attitude as a coach is the same and consistent from day to day, kids know exactly what they're walking into when they walk into the gym or the practice field or wherever. And I think that's a really, really important part of having high level athletic programs is you have to have consistency in those areas. If you're kind of moody, if kids don't know what they're walking into every day, it is really, really hard to achieve at the highest level that you want to when you don't do those things. So to me, it always starts with that adult leadership. But we also know that, we're a community where our parents are some of our greatest assets, and I think when you talk a lot about youth sports anymore, there's such a negative feeling when you get on social media or you read about stuff. Well, this situation happened at this youth basketball game, or this happened with this umpire. And you kind of go through this list of all the terrible things that are happening across the country. And a good friend of mine that's an athletic director at one of our rival schools always kind of calls it competition disorder. You get around people that are very normal and you consider them a friend or, whatever they are, associate. And then you get to an athletic event and you're like, that person has lost their mind. What has happened to them? Like, what is this force field that they have walked into? And they can't get a grip on themselves or their own kids. So, for me, it's just trying to keep focused on what we do. And we talk to our coaches a lot, Jordan, about you set the weather and what you do. So if you are walking into practice every day or you go to the game, your parents are going to react just like you are reacting. So if you are a hothead on the sidelines, if you are, as I say, acting a fool on the sideline or wherever it is, the parents are going to mimic that. They really will. But if you are cool and collected there, if you are you're getting your chances to talk to an official about something you might not agree with, but you are not becoming a spectacle. The parents will mirror that as well. Your kids will mirror that as well. So to me, that also kind of teaches this whole idea and premise of just staying in control, and then you're focused on what you're doing from quarter to quarter or possession to possession or whatever the case may be. So consistency is a huge part of that. So I think that answers your question. I do get off on tangents, Jordan, but to me, that's a huge part of building something that's had success across a lot of different sports, because there's a lot of modeling that goes on, and people know when they start coaching here what they're walking into. So you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself that you know what the expectations are. We're never going to sit and talk about those expectations in a coaches meeting, but we talk about the things that you can do to become the best coach you can be, or the pitfalls that you can stay away from, and to help each other. Because, the hardest part of being a head coach, I think, at the high school level, is being able to lead other adults. It's not necessarily about leading the kids. That should be the easy part for you, but it's about leading those other adults that are in the locker room, the coach's office, whatever, with you. That can be a really, really difficult thing for a lot of people.
So when you look at other elite programs like LaSalle Academy or Bentonville, schools that have also had incredible runs, what separates Carmel?
Well, I'm not sure there's a lot that separates us. I mean, there's so many. You look at that top 10, top 20 list in Max Preps every year, and I have so much admiration for what people do, because situations are different across the country in lots of different ways. So obviously Bentonville's had some really big success. Our friends at Cherry Creek, LaSalle, you talk about lots of different places across the country. But all of them are doing, a lot of the similar things, but they're different. And so to me, it is about kind of figuring out who the right people are to get on board. But obviously all those other places are similar to us in that you get great resources. You get a community feel that, hey, we support what you do. Kids are not going to succeed when they walk into a football stadium on Friday night and it's 20% full. That to me is something you have to have, that spirit, that connection with your community. And all of those places do it in a lot of different ways. And all of them have different pockets in their athletic programs that are kind of that traditional program that succeeds at this high level every year. Some of them may have, a year or two here in different sports. For us, where we've really tried to focus on, and this goes way back before me coming here in 2001, is I just feel like Carmel High School has always just been known for being so good and competitive across the board in everything. And I think that's, for us, something that we take a lot of pride in, that, we don't want to have programs where kids feel lesser than, or they're having fewer resources with those programs, that everything is in place for them to have success. So I think for us, it's just kind of having that same expectation across the board for everything. And I think that kind of helps to drive things. And our consequently, our families, our parents have a lot of trust in what we do. And that when problems come up, we want to sit down, we want to be good listeners to them. And as I always tell parents when they come through, you should never apologize for coming in to talk to us about something that's bothering you, because if you can't be the advocate for your child, really there's nobody else that's going to be. So you should never apologize for that. And there are a lot of good conversations that come out of those. So everyone's got, you look at those lists and wow, there's some really, really awesome schools. And a lot of those people we've had some communications with in my time here, just to try to learn from each other. Because clearly when you have issues and challenges at large schools and high achieving schools, usually there are some other challenges and issues that come up in those other schools. You try to figure out, well, what do you guys do to combat this? What do you do to help build this? So, to me, there's no greater, kind of fraternity of people that in the field than athletic directors, because it's not like head coaches. Head coaches in any sport, they don't want to share the secret to their success. They'll speak at a coach's clinic, but they're not going to tell you everything they do and that special defense they're running or whatever it is. athletic directors are so different, Jordan and Brandon. They're just, you come up with something good that's efficient. You want to share it with everyone. Hey, I learned how to do this. Did you know that you can do this to save some time? And so that's what's different, I think, about just athletic directors in general during my time and growing up, the son of an athletic director at another school that was pretty big as well. I have always had a lot of admiration for how people learn from each other in this community. And so you don't have all the answers, but there's certainly a lot of sharing of ideas with athletic directors. And I think that kind of probably drives a lot of these top programs across the country.
You kind of touched on it right there. This runs in your blood. You had a father who was also an athletic director. How do you think that has played into your career choices and decisions that you make?
Yeah, I've eaten a lot of popcorn over the years. I grew up. My dad was an athletic director for 23 years at a school of 3,000 just down the street from us, North Central High School on the north side of Indianapolis. They've had a lot of great people come out of there, but none greater than Babyface, one of my favorite artists. So a lot of great things out of North Central. But I grew up being a gym rat. I didn't know that other people, I still to this day don't know what other people do on Friday nights. I'm just on a field, I'm on a court, I'm somewhere watching high school kids compete. So, that was our life growing up. Fridays and Saturday nights, just get in the car and you're traveling the state. And Sundays, Dad would go down to work. This is pre-email and internet, so there was a lot of paperwork that went on that couldn't happen at home. So it was always great to round up the friends from the neighborhood, and he had an indoor gym to play for a couple hours on a Sunday afternoon. Those were really, really special and fun times, and probably learned a lot of organizational skills from my dad as well. He was kind of the king of 3x5 index cards. Like everything was written on an index card. I mean, everything, the grocery list, stats at a game, everything. And so when he passed several years ago, we found all sorts of 3x5 cards with everything you can imagine at the house. But it's kind of fun, and knowing that what you're walking into. Obviously, it's a little different here in 2026 than it was in the 1980s, but still a lot of the things are the same thing. You learn that some of the most valuable people that you'll be around every day are not necessarily your coaches and athletes, et cetera. It's the other people that make things go at your school. It's working with your facility staff, your custodial staff, maintenance, people that are working concessions, all of our great people that work our events for us, whether they're running the scoreboard or doing the PA, or we've got a great group of ticket takers and event managers. Those are the people that, to me, really make it rewarding. And if we didn't have that group, I probably would have been out of this a long time ago.
I believe you've won 31 state championships in 6 seasons. How would you say, or what role would you say that the student athletes play in sustaining that culture? How do the upperclassmen pass down the standards to the younger athletes?
Oh, it's huge. And we talked about these feeder programs kind of coming up the ranks. So you grow up looking up to these high school kids. And so finally, when you get to that point, you're a freshman. I'm sorry, but you don't know a lot of things. And so you come into that sophomore year, and now I know a little bit more, and I'm kind of getting really used to this. And now I've got some skills I can use with my peers. And then you kind of get to that junior year and you're able to have a little bigger voice. And sometimes you've gone from the junior varsity up to the varsity. And then you reach that senior year. And to me, it's such it's a huge thing and a lot of pressure that kids put on themselves, but they're also extremely excited to do it. They're excited to write their own chapter into that program or carrying the torch of some streak that's going along. But I always like to say, Jordan, that, when you look at a team, and a lot of us like to just loop years together. So our swimming and diving program, for example, our girls have the longest winning streak in the nation in any sport all time. They just won their 40th straight state championship, which is now like generations of kids in the program that have swam through it. It's unreal. So, but I kind of say this, that every year though has its own team. It takes on its own a life of its own culture. So while we talk about a streak in a sport or several years, that group that won that year or competed or whatever it did in that individual season, that group of seniors, there's only that group of seniors. That season is very unique to that group of kids. They didn't have the same experience 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So sometimes when we like to lump kids into a program that's having a sustained success, you have to remember that that group had a special group of seniors that was able to elevate their peers. They were able to work through challenges, adversity. They were able to really take control of the season and guide it where they wanted it to. And so to me, seasons always go with the senior class. I mean, I've never seen a team that's reached the ultimate goal that's been made up of juniors or sophomores that have been the voice. Seniors are the ones that drive that, for better or for worse. So to me, that has such a huge part, no matter whom the coach is, those seniors and their personality and how they drive each other and how they lift each other up and how they look at the team first and not just their individual accolades. That's what makes a special team that can reach the mountaintop.
So how do you keep the coaches so motivated when the bar is so high? How do you prevent that complacency?
Um, I don't know. They do a great job themselves of just they know what they want to achieve. They really do. And they also see what's going on around them in other sports. So they know that, when we're doing things out of season, yeah, there should be an out of season schedule. It shouldn't just be going through the motions. When those coaches go into the weight room and they see the energy that our strength and conditioning coach Jordan Jurasovich has working with their student athletes, it gets you pumped up. So those are the things to me that should inspire those head coaches and those assistant coaches on those programs, that it's a special place to be. And if you really want to put forth lesser than that, there are probably some other places to go. You have to know that walking in here, that you're going to have to put in time. You're going to have to do the extra things. You're going to have to be that master motivator. You're going to have to be really good at figuring out the mental aspect of sports and working with 15, 16, 17-year-olds. There's no greater challenge in the world, trust me, than working with that group. So I've got 6 graduates of Carmel High School, and they were all involved in very different things here. But, being a parent, being a coach, working through all those trials and tribulations of being a high school kid and a teenager, there is no greater challenge than that. I don't care what industry you're in. You never know what you're walking into every day. So you better bring the same thing every day and be patient and be a really good listener. And, in a lot of ways, you're part-time coach, part-time psychologist.
When you're ranked number one nationally, everyone is chasing you. How do you manage the pressure?
I don't know that you're managing pressure. I feel it for our kids and our coaches more than anything, because you don't want them to feel like not winning a state championship is a failure season. It's absolutely not. Did you do the best you could? Some years you've got the horses, some years you don't. But to me, that when you're measuring the success of a season, it should never be measured in what the trophy is at the end of the year. Absolutely not. And some of my favorite moments here at Carmel have been years where a team is they've given it their all, but they didn't get to their ultimate goal. But the journey to get there has been so fun to watch. And whether it's that group of kids, whether it's having a year-end loss in the state tournament, so many of our tournaments here are all-comer tournaments. So what's different about Indiana is you make the tournament regardless of your regular season record. You go 0-22 in basketball, and boom, you're playing tonight in the first night of the basketball sectional. So nothing is seeded. So it's a little different in those ways. You don't win your division or your region to get a berth into the tournament. So you start the tournament in team sports, everyone's 0-0, and you go from there. But I kind of go back to, you have a devastating loss in the tournament, And I see how our kids and our coaches react in a moment of just so much emotion and something that's really kind of devastating for them. But I always feel like, you hear people say this, it's, when you hit adversity, that's the real show of character. And I think this is a great example of that, is how do they respond when that happens? And so I think coaches and parents have a lot to do with that as well, because they're the ones that make those young men and young women into the types of person they are. Like, are they still going through the handshake line, holding their head high? Are they consoling each other? Are they burning the house down on the way out, or are they holding their heads up and still giving high fives to little kids as they're walking off the court? I mean, those are the things that I think about and see when that goes on. But I also think just seeing a lot of emotion from them also shows me that they put so much into this and it meant a lot to them. And I really feel like education-based athletics is the only area left where kids feel that type of emotion when they play a game, because there is a clock that ticks when you're in your high school career. And it's not like in your travel and club sports where we're just on to the next tournament in St. Louis next weekend. Let's see how far we can get there, So to me, it's just, there's a lot of just only one-time things that you do in education-based athletics that make it really, really special, where your teachers ask, hey, how'd you guys do on Saturday? Or good luck at your game tonight. Those are things that you don't get in any other area of youth sports.
Well, and how do you balance winning and developing young people? Because at the end of the day, the championships are great, but the character of the kids matter more.
Oh, I think it's first and foremost, Brandon. I don't think there's any greater thing in what we do than trying to develop, young men and women that can become really productive adults, and someday a lot of those people will become parents of their own kids. So, if you're not developing that at that point, probably on down the line, it'll be for someone else here at some point, but in my position, but you want them to just understand that there's something bigger than winning. There's something bigger than winning in high school sports and education-based athletics. It's really, to me, it is about figuring out life. It's about figuring out conflict with other peers. I don't care where you're at. Every sport, every season's going to have its challenges. You're going to have, not everybody gets along with each other. Sometimes there's a lot of competition for positions. Sometimes it's a younger kid that's taken the senior spot in the roster or the lineup or whatever. To me, that's pretty paramount to what we do, and making sure that they leave with those types of characteristics is probably the most important thing that we do, I think. And anywhere, this is not just a Carmel thing. That's just anywhere where we're at, because those are the people that are going to be managers at a workplace. They're going to be the head of sales somewhere. They're going to be leading corporations. That you want to have people that, and I think our society shows that a lot of people that do reach those levels are probably folks that were kids that played high school sports at one time. So they got to learn those things somewhere.
You've built a very strong athletic dynasty in your time there. What would you say is next for Carmel Athletics?
No, it's it's kind of trying to sustain it, I guess, more than anything. That's always a challenge. Every school year starts, right back at ground zero. So you don't, nothing really carries over from year to year. So I think that's what keeps us fresh more than anything else is, that pursuit every school year of seeing what's going to happen. What are the kids going to achieve this year? What special things are going to happen this school year? What underclassmen that we know nothing about have really put in the time and energy to make that next step up. So, what's next for us? Well, we're finishing up several years of construction projects. So I'm hopeful that what's next for us is not going to construction meetings. I think that's probably the first and foremost thing for me, Jordan. But we've got a lot of exciting things, and for us now to just build on that. And obviously there are challenges that come up. We've got a lot of places around us that are getting better all the time. And so how do you kind of keep that edge? How do you work with the challenges that you've got coming up? not everything is perfect in all of our programs. So from year to year, I think the challenge becomes, how do you fix some things that need to be fixed? How do you maintain stuff? We know that there'll be head coach changes over the years, and there'll be folks that, you're not making a living off of coaching high school athletics. So people, whether they're teachers here in the building or they're lay coaches, you have people that move away, they get out of coaching, life changes and all those things. So for us, it's the challenge of, how do you replace those folks and give the absolute best person to lead that program next? So we don't even know what the challenges are next, I guess is my point. So we'll kind of roll with those. And I think that's a fun part of what we do, is trying to figure out what parts fit into that puzzle from year to year to make it great for our kids.
So if you zoom out from 5 years from now, what do you want people saying about Carmel?
I think it's just that place, man, they just churn things out. They are awesome in everything that they do. I mean, that's, to me, there's no greater part than that, not a lot of people like us around here. You have success over time, that it's not like people get enthralled by that. It's, the Dodgers win a few world titles in a row, and now they're the villain everywhere. When you don't have success, people don't tend to not like you. I mean, it's not something that goes on with them, I guess. So, but when you're having sustained success, you do kind of have that around you. But I think a lot of that, I would hope, is that there is, kind of that admiration for what we do, and how we go about it, I think, is more important than how you achieve, because you're going to be under the microscope. So I think when you talk about 5 years out from now, I would hope it's the same place where, we know that they're going to compete really hard. We know that it's going to be really hard to beat them and compete with them, but we also know that they're going to go about it the right way. Their coaches are great men and great women, that their kids, they're class when they leave. And I hope that's the lasting legacy that goes on 5 years, 10 years from now, that we don't ever get away from, is that we're doing things the right way, and that people want to play us, they want to be around us, and that we're leaving a good impression when we leave places.
All right, Jim, it's time for our favorite segment, Game Time Decisions. Quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
I'll try to be as quick as I can. I didn't have a big athletic career because I was pretty slow. So we'll see where it goes.
All right. Harder to win, the first championship or sustaining 40 in a row?
Oh, the 40 in a row. Absolutely.
Friday night football or state swim finals?
Pass.
You don't want anyone mad at you after this?
I get a rush from both. Honestly, they're both are awesome. I mean, 7,000 people there on a Friday night is so much fun. And the energy and the noise and the tailgating and all those things. And I'm a swimming geek. So being at the state swim meet and seeing our kids succeed, and seeing them jump in the pool after winning it. And those are really fun times too, because they're great events, but they're different. And so, if you're not a swimming person, you probably don't enjoy going to a 4-hour swim meet, but for me, I do enjoy it. So it's something different everywhere, but I think they're both awesome.
Most underrated sport at Carmel?
Ooh, lacrosse.
And one of the newer ones. More satisfying, a top 10 national finish or seeing a freshman grow into a leader?
I think freshmen grow into a leader. I know that sounds like a cliche thing, but I love seeing kids walk in and you're like, I don't see how that kid's ever going to be a varsity athlete. Like, they are so tiny. And then you come back sophomore year and they've grown 4 inches, and then they put on 40 pounds by their junior year. Something happens. It's not real time for kids. I don't understand what happens, but they leave here in May, and it's like they've had 12 months to just grow into these monsters over the summer. And they come back with these broad shoulders, and you're like, I don't know what happened. I don't even recognize that kid. And it's just been 9 weeks. All we've not seen him is for 9 weeks. So to me, I think that's pretty fun.
One word that defines Carmel athletics?
Excellence.
And if you could guarantee one more national number one finish, which sport steals it?
I'm going with girls soccer 2026.
Hey,
They're
love it.
budding for a big run next year.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Well, Coach, you handled that like someone who's used to the spotlight. Jim, this has been an incredible conversation. Carmel's success isn't accidental, it's intentional, it's sustained, and deeply rooted in culture. Congratulations on building one of the premier athletic programs in the country.
Well, thanks to both of you. Appreciate you having me on. Appreciate it.
And that is going to wrap up this episode of Building a Champion. If you were inspired by championship culture done the right way, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and keep building champions.